it's coming down, y'all. It's so pretty out here. I know some of y'all like, really? Outside in the snow? Yes, outside in the snow. I had to come out here while the snow is falling and fresh and pretty and white to tell my story because the snow captures the essence. Give me a second. Okay, y'all, today I have a story of jealousy and envy and ugliness. You know what I'm saying? The story of Snow White. That's right, Snow White. And I know most of you are like, Snow White? Like, what could Snow White possibly have to do with God or Christianity or faith-based channel? What does that have to do with anything? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you about this chick, Snow White. All right, y'all. So long ago in a faraway land, there was this king, and he had a wife that all of the kingdom adored. Like, she was loving and kind and sweet, and she made sure the people of their kingdom were very well taken care of. The queen had everything her heart desired except a child. So one day it was snowing in the kingdom, and she took her rocking chair and she put it in front of her big huge window. She had the window up or whatever, and she was knitting, and a little bird, a snowbird, came to the window. So she got up, opened the window to look at the snowbird, and when she went to look at the snowbird, she pricked her finger on accident with a needle. And when she pricked her finger with a needle, a few drops of blood fell from her window into the ground. When she saw the blood, she, for whatever reason, thought it'd be a good idea to make a wish. I don't know, y'all, this story was written a long time ago, and they were into some stuff back then. Stay with me. So she was like, she asked the snow god, just like, if I could have one thing, I want a beautiful daughter with skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony. Oh, girl, I wanted a vampire, but we're gonna get into it. Don't just focus. I'm talking to me, Tasha. Focus, tell the story. All right, so boom, time went by. Next thing you know, a girl was knocked up. She was pregnant with baby Snow White. She was so happy. The king was so happy. They were so excited, anticipating the birth and delivery of Princess Snow White. So mother went through the whole ordeal. She had Snow White. Snow White was a healthy little baby, kicking and cooing and cawing and all that stuff. But the mother was sick. Okay. And not the kind of sick that you could get well from. Unfortunately, y'all, she did not make it. But before she left us, them, she told her husband to do her one favor, which was to make sure to take good care of Snow White, their daughter, and to find love again, because she loved her husband that much. She did not want him to be lonely without love. And she wanted Snow White to have a loving family as well, because she knew her time was ending. Okay, so time went by. The king, he lived in the kingdom a while without any children. It was just him and little Snow White. But eventually, when Snow White was about 7 years old, he ended up remarrying, right? So this new queen, she was not his first wife. Yes, she was beautiful and all the things, but her beautiful outward appearance came with a very nasty, ugly inward, okay? It's like she was pretty ugly, okay? Stay with me. Like I said, this queen was the polar opposite of Snow White's mother, right? She was mean and evil, and no one liked her. She was extremely vain. Everything was about herself. She even had a mirror, y'all, a talking mirror. And she would look in this mirror and say, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" And the mirror would be like, "You," and she like, "All right, bet." So she would do this every so often, just to remind herself that she was the baddest or whatever. She wanted to be a baddie. Time went by, and one day she asked the mirror. She was like, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" And the mirror was like, "Well, unfortunately, not you. You all right, but Snow White is bad. You hear me?" And she was like, "What?" She was appalled. She could not believe it. So, of course, she grew hate and resentment towards little Snow White, little innocent little kid, As time went on, she would ask the mirror again a few more times. Time went by. Each time the mirror said Snow White was the fairest of them all. Oh, evil queen wasn't having that. You heard me. So what she did was she got one of her huntsmen to take Snow White out in the woods and offer. She's like, "Get rid of her. And I need proof. So I want you to bring back her heart and her liver, and I'm going to eat it with salt." Don't ask me. I ain't write the story. Okay? She was on some more stuff, some other stuff. And so the huntsmen, back in the day, they did what their king and their queen told them. So he took little Snow White. They went walking off into the woods, right? But when they got to the woods, his heart wasn't hardened like the queen, and he wasn't able to off a innocent little girl, right? So he was like, "Oh man, you so pretty, girl." And he said, "Look, I'm supposed to get rid of you out here, but I don't have the heart to do it because I'm a huntsman. I hunt animals for us to eat and not children, you know what I'm saying? So this woman needs you to do so we can both stay alive. I'm going to let you go, right? But I need you to promise me that you're going to go that way into the woods and not that way towards the palace. And you're going to have to stay there because you're going to have to pretend to be, offed, right?" And Snow White, "No, you're fine." Snow White was like, "Yeah, that's a good idea," or whatever. "Okay, I promise, I won't come back. I'll go that way and I'll just pretend I'm not here anymore." And so the huntsman was like, "All right, bet, cool." So what he did, because he still had to deliver on what he said he would do, which was bring back the heart of Snow White. But he didn't have the heart to do that. So being that he is a huntsman, he found a wild boar and he used the boar's heart, and he brought the boar's heart back to the queen. And he was like, "I did it. Snow White's gone." And she's so happy. She got the heart. She's rejoicing and whatever, dancing around because she thinks she's the baddest again. All right. So again, she's so happy she didn't even think to check the mirror. Time goes by. Snow White, meanwhile, is in the woods. She's trying to find somewhere to live, because it's like, okay, I'm in the woods. So, she frolicking around, skipping or whatever through the woods. You know how they do. And she see this little house, right? This little bitty little house. And she's like, "Oh, that's cute." And so she helped herself in and she looked around and she saw this cute little bed and these cute little table. Everything was so clean and tidy. And then she saw 7 little plates with some little food on it. And so she was like, "Let me taste this food." So she went to each plate and she ate a little bit off of all the plates. She even got her a little sip, little swig or something to drink. And then, after any good meal, what happens? We get the itis. So Snow White got the itis and she was like, "All right, let me test these beds out while I'm at it. I'm gonna get me a little nappy nap." So a girl went in the room, right? She checked all the beds. When she got to the 7th bed, she was like, "This it right here." Boom. She laid on the bed. She was out. You heard me. So time went by and the 7 dwarfs, they came home, right? See, if you want to know where they were gold miners. So they were out working in the woods. Y'all remember that song? I-O, it's off to work we go. You know what I mean? So they go and they do their little thing in the woods. Anywho, they get home, they come in, they take their little shoes off because they ain't want to get the dust and stuff, because I told you it was real neat, real clean. And they get in and they like, "Wait a minute. CPI, ADT, somebody done broke up in our crib." They're like, wait. And so they're assessing the scene or whatever, and each of them go to their place. They're like, "I know somebody didn't eat my food, you know. And then each one of them, they was like, yeah, somebody drank my stuff or whatever. And so the seventh dwarf, he went straight to their little bedroom. I don't know why 7 grown men live together in one room either. I don't know, but I ain't write the story. Stay with me. So he was like, y'all, over here, come on. So they all come in, and then they see this big size person laying out in the bed, knocked out. And then Domino's Pizza come along. I'm like, okay, maybe Domino's didn't come, but stay with me. So, all right. It took them a long time to wake up. They were trying to wake her up. So eventually they finally got her up. When she woke up, she was like, oh my goodness, y'all so little, so cute. Ooh. And so they were like, look, we grown men. Don't do that. Don't disrespect me like that. I'm a grown man. She was like, my bad. I ain't mean no disrespect. You just cute, like Kevin Hart size. Okay, so she pled with the guy. She was pleading her case. She was like, listen, I know how it look. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to eat your food. I'm sorry. I'm all on your bed and everything. But check this out. So I'm really a princess, right? And my stepmom is the evil queen. And she tried to off me. And so the huntsman took me out here. And I said, I won't gonna come back. So really, I need to stay. And they all got together. You know, they had a little meeting. And they were like, all right, look. This is the plan. You can stay here if you promise to keep everything nice and clean while we're out there working. Like, you're going to have to hold your weight. And whatever you do, don't let nobody in here when we're not around, because we won't be able to protect you. She was like, all right, cool. So that's what they did, you know. They did that little thing. So one day, the little guys went off to work in the gold mine. And wait, before I get there, so let's go over to the queen. So she's in her queendom one day, and she just looking all around, and she go to her mirror, and she go, mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? And then the mirror was like, you ain't gonna like this. Like, you cute and all, but the fairest of them all is outside in the wood chilling with 7 dwarfs. And she was like, what? He said, Snow White. She said, word. He said, word. She was like, oh, you know, she was mad, you know how they get. She was a straight Karen anyway. She was like, whatever. So then she was like, that's it. I can't get any good help around here. I asked him to do something for me. He didn't do it for me. So I'm going to do it myself. So she took it upon herself to get this poison apple. She actually went more than once, but we're going to go straight to the apple one. She was like, all right, let me get my little potion. And she poured this potion in this thing, and she makes this poison apple, and she makes her way out to the woods or whatever. She finds the little hut, and like I said, the dwarfs, they're gone. They're in the trenches. They're working, trying to get their money so they can keep the lights on for her. Anywho, so she now disguises herself not as a queen, but like as basically a witch, but this old scary looking lady. And so she went to the house, and she like knocked on the window, and Snow White went to the window, and she was like, oh, if you don't mind, I'm just an old lady. My husband is not doing well, and all I have are apples. Would you be so kind to trade me some apples for a loaf of bread so that I can give it to my husband, because he's unaliving? And Snow White was like, oh, dang, that's sad. Yeah, wait a minute. I think we got a little bread. So she went in the kitchen, and she got a little loaf of bread from the dwarves, and she traded it with the queen or whatever. And I guess she hadn't had an apple in a long time, because, child, when I tell you, soon as the witch gave her the apple, she bit it. She was like, that's good. It was so potent that as soon as she bit the apple, she fell out. She was just out. Boom. I had a praying grandmother. So listen, later the dwarves come home, right? And they go in the house, and they couldn't even get the door open all the way. And they're like, what's in front of the door? Y'all, it was Snow White. She was boom. But I knew enough to call on the name of Jesus. Hallelujah. If y'all don't know that, don't worry about it. Okay, so they were like, oh Lord, the Snow White's asleep. let's wake her up. So they shaking her and everything. They're trying to wake her up. They're trying so hard to wake her up, but they can't wake her up, right? And so they like, she gone. And they were like, man, that's messed up. She gone. And so they were like, well, she's too pretty to put into this dirty ground. So what we need to do for homegirl is, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. We're like, what we need to do is make her a glass casket because she's so beautiful. And everybody need to be able to adore her beauty. And they were like, yeah, good idea. So somehow they made a glass casket. They put Snow White in it or whatever. And they put her out in the forest so that all the other animals and other little dwarfs can come and adore her or whatever. So while they were doing that, the prince, he was on his horse. Like riding through the thing. And he sees the casket and he was like, oh my goodness, she is beautiful. They were like, I know, right? And then he was like, that's you, homie? To one of the dwarves. And there he was like, she was loving the crew. They were like, dude was like, stop playing. He was like, and when guys go, you know what that means. But let's focus. So the prince was like, can I have her? And they're like, man, what do you mean? She's unalived. He said, I know, but she's just so beautiful. I don't want to leave her here. Let me give her the proper, ceremony or whatever. So they end up saying, yeah, that he could do it or whatever. So he takes Snow White and somehow he's trying to put her on a horse or something. Anyway, in the process of trying to transport Snow White from the forest to wherever he was going to take her, the casket fell and it broke. So when the casket broke, Snow White fell out and a piece of apple that was lodged in her throat came out too. So it's kind of like the Heimlich. It was like, kind of like the Heimlich or whatever. So, she drowsy or whatever. She opened her eyes and she like, hey. And he like, hey. And so she like, where you at? Where my little guys at? And he told her the story. He was like, you're so beautiful. And she was like, you were willing to take me even though I won't even hear anymore. He was like, yeah, I just had to have you, whatever. She was like, okay, well, I guess we're getting married. He's like, yeah, I guess so. So once they got married, her request was to go back to the kingdom where she grew up so she could, find her dad or whatever and let her dad know that she was still alive. Anyway, long story short, they get to the kingdom. The queen took over or whatever. The daddy, we don't know what happened with the daddy. So anywho, Snow White and the prince get married. The day of the wedding, the queen is in her lair or whatever. And she asked her mirror, she was like, mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? And he was like, not you, boo. Snow White is back and she is getting married to a prince. So y'all know the queen wasn't trying to hear that. So she was like, all right, wedding crashers. She was like, I'm about to crash this wedding and I'm going to handle her once and for all. So anyway, she go to the wedding. She sees Snow White or whatever. She tries to get to her, but she couldn't get to her. They ended up capturing her and putting her on some hot shoes or something. I think they were like made of coal. I don't know, y'all. Some shoes, and she was instructed to dance until she, took her last breath or whatever. So that was the end of her. The queen was gone. So I know y'all like, okay, Tosh, we set through all of this. You're in the snow, you're eating apples, you're riding horses. What is the moral of this story? The moral of the story is, wait a minute. But I'll tell you, this is really good. That's a really good apple. I'm gonna tell you that vanity and jealousy can lead to destruction. Green with envy, desiring, something that is not yours, wanting to be like someone else, thinking you the baddest, beauty, just being so vain and full of yourself, that often leads to destruction. While love and kindness usually prevail, God doesn't like jealousy, y'all. Although, the Bible says that God is a jealous God, it does not mean that he envies. He envies no one. God is jealous in the capacity that We are to put no other gods before him. And in that context, before doesn't mean in front of. Before means period. Like no other gods. Not like you can have this other God as long as I'm in front of that God. Nah, he means none. No other. Okay, that's what he means by before me. In my presence. Okay? So y'all, biblically, there are several references of jealousy and why we should not be jealous or envious of others. I'll read one, 1 Corinthians 3:3. Jealousy is a sin and not characteristic of Christians. Okay, need more? All right, I got James 3:16. Jealousy and selfish ambition leads to disorder and vile practices. I'm gonna give you one more. I make one more. Envy makes the bones rot. Ooh, that's Proverbs 14:30. All of those things describe the evil stepmother. Her jealousy and envy of Snow White's beauty caused her demise. It drove her crazy. Like she was literally losing her mind because she wanted Snow White's beauty. Beauty that Snow White wasn't even aware of. Beauty that Snow White didn't even ask for. Beauty that didn't faze Snow White in the least. The word also goes on to speak of vanity, right? In Galatians 5:26, it says, "Let us not become conceited, provoking and envying each other." I love the way 1 Peter 3:3-4 put it. Your beauty should not come from outward adornments, but the unfading beauty of a gentle, quiet spirit. See, Snow White possessed that gentle, quiet spirit. She was just happy and loving and kind and gentle. She was not vain. I don't even think she was fully aware of her beauty because beauty was never something that she prided herself on. So in the end, although all of the weapons were formed against Snow White, none of them prospered. Nope. She also had the favor of God on her life, just like Hansel and Gretel yesterday. But her pure heart and her meekness allowed her to end up inheriting the kingdom. And we all know the word says that the meek shall inherit the earth. But in Snow White's case, her meekness got her that man, that ring, and that kingdom. You hear me? And she didn't have to do anything. She didn't even have to fight her battles. Like God handled the evil queen for her. And now Snow White and her man and all of the kingdom, they got to live happily ever after. Y'all, all right, that's my time. I hope y'all enjoyed the story. I had a great time telling it. I love the elements, so this snow and stuff is not bothering me at all. I think it's beautiful. But I'm about to go in the house, get me some hot chocolate, and I'll probably write a paper. Ooh, that's exciting, right? All right, y'all, be blessed, stay warm, and be a blessing. Respectfully, Tosh. Cue outro music and